Good morning and welcome. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason live on this Thursday. I hope it finds you well out there. Yeah, the heat is on. We're breaking all kinds of records. It's not as bad as they say. I can imagine people that don't live here in Arizona. So I'm in Arizona. Jason's in Colorado. I think this is going to be day 21 of 110 degrees or hotter. My buddy and I, Homer, a lot of you know him, we had a little bit of a heat stroke open yesterday. We were out there. It was it hit 119 degrees, but it's a dry heat. And speaking of dry heat, that's kind of how I liken the markets right now. Gold and silver really having a good last few weeks. And I expect that to continue as things have changed. People are starting to talk about what's going to happen with the dollar. How are we going to afford all the interest payments? Is there one more rate hike, which I think we'll get Wednesday, right? I think that's kind of in the bag. Is there going to be another? We'll wait and see. And, of course, there could be more than one. Really could be. It'll be interesting how that shakes out, but they've shifted focus. They're no longer focused on rate hikes and strong dollar. They're focused on how are we going to pay for everything in a weak dollar. This is why you've seen gold and silver perform. Matter of fact, for the first time, man, it's been a long time where when you look at the paper contracts, always in gold and silver, the banks are short. Always. I mean, well, I can't say always because right now it's almost dead even, which is very unusual. Looks like now the banks, Jason, have shifted their positions, at least on their paper positions, at least for right now. Instead of shorting gold and silver, they're going the other way, which kind of probably makes a lot of sense as we've seen what is happening price-wise.
Yeah. I think gold's price point will be, keep on going up as time goes on, and we don't know if there's going to be a huge crash in the markets that's fast. I mean, the COVID emergency, the crash in the market was so severe. And the people are so worried about a pandemic, they didn't really look at the markets maybe as closely as they should have. And then it bounced back, of course, with all the money printing. I don't know if we'll have that sharp of a crash or not. It seems like at some point we will have something like that. But until then, I think gold will just kind of hold course and slowly start to go up. Especially, we don't know what happens next month with the BRICS just speaking about a gold-backed currency. And if things start to move, it'll move fast. And if what you're saying is true, the banks are buying more gold, all this is just putting more and more pressure on something, which I think always gold is being suppressed. Silver is always being suppressed. I think a lot of commodities are always being suppressed, Joe, because, when you're trying to build your world, you need to have cheap goods to build it with, right? And you can't have gold going crazy because then everything goes crazy.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. Matter of fact, the half-empty cup of Joe, we're going to have a special broadcast. We're going to focus in on the BRICS. Robert Kiyosaki now is out. A lot of really smart people are like, hey, this is happening. This is going to be a real thing here. They have that big meeting August 22nd. So in the second 2 hours, go to 1360khnc.com. And you can pick it up there. If you miss it, go to the podcast section of the 1360 website for the half-empty cup of Joe, and you can listen to it there as well. It's going to be interesting as Jason and I try to put the pieces of that puzzle together. We did get some data today. It's Thursday, so we got jobless claims data, continuing claims data, and a very split data points. The adjusted number, the seasonally adjusted number, lower. The unseasonably adjusted number, the highest number of the year. Which one's right? Well, obviously, the actual number would be the right number, but we got a lot of things moving the markets right now. Apple and Microsoft, right? The AI guys leading the way, but the S&P and the NASDAQ are down. We've got this very, very tale of two markets. You've got about 7 to 10 stocks that are making up the majority of the rally, which leaves all the other stocks out. That's kind of what we're facing right now. And then yesterday we had a great silver special on those 1995s. Those are sold out. I have another great, and I mean great special. It will also be very, very limited, so be ready for that. 800-951-0592. allamericangold.com is the website. But yeah, continuing jobless claims fell from 237,000 to 228,000. That's below expectation. However, like I said, the non-seasonally adjusted initial claims, the highest going back to January, and that makes sense because January, what happens in January? All the Christmas help, the temporary Christmas help loses their jobs, right? They seasonally adjust that away. I have no idea what the seasonal adjustment is for a July jobless claims number, but there you have it, kind of. Which one is it? That's kind of what we're waiting for with the economy too, right? We'll be back after the break. Eight 800-951-0592. That is the toll-free number here. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. Like I said, a mixed market here. The Dow up 250 points. The S&P's down 15, and the NASDAQ's down 168. On the gold side, we got gold down. The first day gold's been down in a while here. We'll see if it stays down, but gold's down 7 here, 1974. Silver's off 28 cents, 24.93. By the way, the TV contracts, they're now in October, just so you know. So if you look at the TV like this morning, it's got gold over 2,000, silver even higher in the 25s. They're just going out to the most heavily traded contracts. So if you're a little confused by that, I'll give you the spot prices in the most current contracts in New York. So when I'm giving you the gold and silver prices, that is the most current contracts in New York. August is the gold contract. July is the silver contract. Kitco, which we use on our site at All American Gold for gold and silver pricing. That is the spot price in London. And yes, you can have different spot prices in gold and silver between London and New York. Why? I don't know. But that's how it works. And again, just another way to confuse people. If you don't want to be confused, if you're like, man, I don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, are we going into the hard landing? Are we not going into the hard landing? Is Wall Street overpriced? Is it not overpriced? What happens if the big seven have a pullback? Do I want to be involved in that? Check out why refi. It's not correlated to Wall Street. Doesn't care about the Fed. Doesn't care about who's president. Fixed rates of return. That's the key. It doesn't change. Doesn't change. Doesn't matter what happens. Dow goes up 5,000, down 5,000. It doesn't matter. Rates double, triple. They raise rates 5 more times, 10 more times. They start lowering rates. They quantitative tightening, quantitative easing. It never changes. You can turn your income on. You can turn your income off. You can do whatever you want. Check them out, investyrefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or call them at 888-Y-REFI-24. And just let them know, hey, Joe and Jason sent me. I've been listening to them talk about you guys. Tell me how this works. They'll walk you through the whole thing. And it's very interesting, Jason, with the jobless claims number, right? The seasonally adjusted number, really, I guess, lower. The non-seasonally adjusted number, the worst number since people, over Christmas, going back to January. My guess is it's not as good as the seasonally adjusted number said, and it's still not bad, right? We're still the jobs market. It may not be the jobs market where everybody is desperate to hire people like it used to be, but it's still pretty robust.
What was that number again, the first time jobless claims today?
228,000.
Okay. It's just kind of been hanging out there, hasn't it? Kind of in that range, right? So, once again, another one of those things. It's not good, not bad, just like what you're saying. So I guess I'm guessing all these numbers will just magically converge when things start to go bad all at once. They'll make sure that they have all the ammunition that when they decide whatever their fix is going to be, obviously digital currency, that they'll be able to use all those data points as to why, hey, this is why we need to do something different, right? And just watching TV, Joe, recently, making cash the enemy, it's really, I think it's getting really hypersensitive about cash. They're really, really, more than I think usual, talk about how cash is just so evil now. So it's all happening. It's happening a lot slower. I've been here just over 5 years doing this, and things moved a lot faster. And with the COVID emergency and some of the other things going on with the reverse repo, and this thing is just kind of kicking along one step at a time. And I just kind of waiting for the second shoe to drop, so to speak, Joe.
I think all of us caught by surprise because they put so much liquidity out there. It's taken a lot longer for that liquidity to dry up, hasn't it? Right? I think that's the thing that all of us, as we're watching, because just like, go back to the financial crisis. They said, oh, well, we only spent this much. Then we find out, of course, remember, the central bank went to the Supreme Court. People don't realize what's really at stake here. So let me explain to you how it's supposed to work, and even the way it's supposed to work makes no sense, which is 2 years later, you can, through the Freedom of Information Act, actually get all the things the central bank has really done. Now, first of all, shouldn't we know that right away? Shouldn't we be allowed to know, well, what are you doing? Right? But you got to remember, right, the central bank, Jason, this isn't elected officials. They're not here for the people, right? They're just here for the system, right? Their system. We have the wolf guarding the hen house with the central bank. And when things go bad, the central bank goes to the courts and gets injunctions. And I've never seen them not get one. They just simply go to the court and say, oh, well, you know what, this would destroy the economy if this got out. So this happened during the financial crisis. And we ended up not learning about how much money the Fed created until 12 years, because they got the Supreme Court to say, well, we need 10 more years. It's kind of like the JFK assassination. We can't let anybody know for 50 years. Well, this was 10 years, right? Because I guess they didn't kill anybody, so you only get 10 years. And it ended up, Jason, being tens of trillions of dollars more than they told us. And I'm wondering if we're kind of reliving the same thing. We know how much money they told us they created. But based on the economy and what we're seeing, it does feel like, wow, man, you guys, looks like they created a lot more money than what they told us. And I think that's kind of why we haven't seen what most people have expected.
Well, and they admitted to a lot of money printing up to the point where in 2020, going to 2021, 40% of all the money printed in history, or at least that's currently in circulation, was in 2020. So they admitted to a lot. I think what they don't talk about, which that Glenn Beck piece that we played some time ago, and we got like an 8 or 9 minute clip right there at Johnstown, where in the radio station, where we could play that clip sometime later on if we want. But it was the printing that went on afterwards. I think it was kind of a process. All these countries and these big banks were getting trillions of dollars, and it ended up being $29 to $30 trillion instead of $5 trillion, which is what the Fed and the government admitted to. So, I mean, a six-fold increase. Can you imagine if they are doing a six-fold increase this time around, and they're printing it on the back end, which that would make things kind of go sideways and slow too, is if they're feeding certain areas of the economy worldwide or the banking industry to keep it floating. And we know with the reverse repo problems in 2019, which suddenly magically here comes coronavirus the very next year, we know they're playing games, right, Joe? You know that they had a lot of ground to cover. Somebody or multiple somebodies they were dying in 2019, and they gave money to everybody, right? Well, how much, and how much are they still doing? That's the question. We don't know what they're doing. I've been saying for a long time that it feels like with this inflation going on, it feels like they're rate hiking and adding cash to the pot at the same time, and that's a great way to blow the whole thing up at their time of choosing, Joe.
Absolutely, and we'll continue to watch how all of that plays out. We do need to make you aware of Yellow Freight, one of the largest freight carriers in the country. This is moving very, very quickly. Yellow Freight missed $50 million in pension payments. According to the Teamsters, they may not be able to make the health care payments. Now, I don't know about you guys, but you're out there working for your company. They stop making the health care payments. I think that kind of means you don't have any health care, right? That is something that is going to be. They said that in the event the employer is delinquent in its health and welfare or pension payments, and it looks like we know the pension payments are definitely delinquent. They say that according to the local unions, they have the right to take any action deemed necessary until the payments are made. They're talking that as early as August, or what is it, July 20th? That there may be a major trucking strike. Last week, the company was required to maintain a cash level of $200 million in earnings before interest rates, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Yellow has generated just $89 million in the fourth and first quarters. Jason, right now they've been granted a waiver from the lender. They do not have the $200 million required. Now, on top of that, they have not made the $50 million pension payment, and the Teamsters believe that they may not be making the health care payments as well. And this would be something, this would be really bad for inflation. If Yellow ends up going bankrupt, which it kind of looks like that may be the case here, are we going to see a major supply disruption? Let's hope not. A strike would be the worst thing, right, Jason? If these Teamsters walked off the job that would be the worst thing possible. I think the best thing that, based on what I'm reading here, is a prepackaged bankruptcy. This would be another one of these huge bankruptcies. And that's kind of the other thing, right? We've got bankruptcy filings and what we're calling large bankruptcy filings, more than 10 million. Of course, here, yellow freight, we're talking hundreds of millions, could be even in the, $1 billion or more by the time everything's added up here. That also is kind of conflicting, right? Because bankruptcy filings are up, credit card delinquencies are up, big news, credit scores. The first major downturn in credit scores, and of course they've done a lot to try to make credit scores appear better than they were and do all these things, but a big drop in credit scores just in the last 30 days. And on top of that, lending standards keep tightening, right? So these are the things, these are kind of the headwinds that we worry about, but yet it really hasn't shown up in the big data points.
And the credit scores can drop for a number of reasons. It doesn't have to be non-payment, Joe, or late payments. That could be a job loss. It could be a job change. It could be less money going into the account.
Maxed out credit cards, right? You all of a sudden you're carrying a big balance. You had to use it, right? All of those things hurt the credit score. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. Another great special coming next. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot. Jason's making me laugh, man. Patriot Radio News Hour. The EAS alert system went off for our the mothership there in Colorado for severe weather, Weld County, where the radio station is. Jason just typed in that it's called the rain. Right, so that's kind of like
there might be hail,
right?
Joe. I'll be fair. There's probably some hail. There's always a little bit of hail mixed in. I'm sure it might be a couple of thunderclaps and lightning, but I mean, thank you. I can look at the skies all on my own. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. So take cover. Be careful up there in Weld County. But before the break, yesterday, just. A great deal on those 1995 Silver Eagles. Today, I've got another opportunity. This is different sources. This one, yesterday's kind of weird one. I told you this, you got to be patient. It's going to take a month to get them, and you had to pay for it ahead of time, right? Today, we're back to regular business. I've got 50 rolls. That's 2 cases of backdated Silver Eagles. Now, I'll let you all in on this. Right now, the cheapest Silver Eagles out there are 2023s. If you go online and you look at the big guys, and then, by the way, they still all want $39 an ounce, right? Which is, don't pay. Call us. Don't pay more. We're at $35.50, right? So if you want to pay $39, you can. Now, to get 39, you got to buy 1,500. But these, when you go to back dates, 42, 43, 45, right? They're not 1995, but what I'll call the less expensive back dates. I've got 50 rolls, 2 cases, $675 a roll. This is by far the cheapest price for Silver Eagles anywhere. That's $33.75. Heck, I don't know. That may be the cheapest Silver Eagle we've run in a couple of years. Pretty close. If it's not, it's right next to it. And I've only got 2 cases. I got 50 rolls of them, $675, and just now we're like, $200 a roll less than everybody else. But I've only got 50 of them. I still have some 10th ounce gold Eagles at $255. It is first come, first serve. We ran out of the 1995s yesterday. this will be no different. Do not wait. Take advantage. Silver Eagles, these are backdated. I don't know the year. Doesn't matter. Right? Are these 2022s, 2021s, 2017s? Who cares? $675 at 800-951-0592. Home sale data just came out. This is existing home sales. The bottom's still not here. It's incredible how low now. Down another 3.3% in June. Seasonally adjusted, just above 4 million. I think that number's below. That's my guess. Unadjusted, we're probably below 4 million homes, existing homes sold. That puts us back in to the housing crash. These are the lowest numbers going for June. This is the lowest June number since 2009. The lowest seasonally adjusted annualized number going back to the housing crash. Continued weakness due to significant lack of supply. There was about just over 1 million homes for sale at the end of June. Now, that's down about 14%. The problem is sales are down over 20%, right? So sales are down more than the supply of homes, but neither here nor there, Jason. This is another one that the Fed's doing, right? We're not seeing the huge drive. A number like this, you would expect home prices to be down 10, 20%. It's not happening. Why? Because all of these people that locked into these interest rates at 3 and 4%, Jason, they're not going anywhere. Unless they get fired from their jobs and can't pay that mortgage, right? Those houses are not going to come up for sale.
Yeah, it feels a lot like we're in the middle of an economic crisis, but the mainstream media and the news has done a really fine job of making it not seem as so. And I know that when it comes to economic news, they do that as a routine matter. But when things are bad, they make the emergency loud and clear. And so it's the kind. I think we're kind of seeing the opposite, Joe, because all the numbers show very bleak outlook on what's getting ready to happen. Even the mainstream media, there's guys popping off a little bit about how bleak things look and recession is imminent and all this. But it just seems like the average Joe out there, the average guy, is walking around oblivious to this because there's not those emergency chimes going off. The numbers you're reporting, Joe, are just not being flagged out there as being important for the greater citizenry to look at. And so it's almost like a reverse of, hey, when 9/11 happened, that's all anyone thought about for 2 years. When coronavirus happened, that's all anyone thought about for 2 years, right? So we're beyond that emergency. And I think the next one's brewing, but that's not where they want it. They don't want us to be in fear of that right now. They want the calm before the storm, Joe. It just seems like that's where we're at. And every single time you get these numbers that come out, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And you would think with these numbers that, people will be running into the streets screaming at their politicians and screaming for help. But we're just not quite there yet. Everybody's just hanging on by the fingernails, Joe.
If you're waiting on hold, we will get to you in the order that you have called. I apologize. I wish I had, 20 cases. We don't. U.S. Silver Eagles backdated. It's just incredible. Just on average, $10 an ounce less than everybody else today. $675. I know it's crazy when I say these things, but it's true. $675 for a roll of 20 on backdate U.S. Silver Eagles. We only had 50 rolls. Just wait. We'll get to you in the order that you call. 800-951-0592. In other news, the world's largest chip maker, Taiwan Semi. Now remember, AI been driving the market. I don't know, but they just slashed guidance today and then gave an update. They are building the biggest plant It's so big right here in Arizona. I'll tell you what they said. They're going to have to delay making chips there, and I'll tell you why when we get back. (800-951-0592). We've gotten through that. We've got 3 lines open. We still have about 30 rolls. These are backdate Silver Eagles at $675 a roll. It's like on average about $10 an ounce. I know it's crazy to say that. $10 an ounce less than all those internet guys out there. $675 at 800-951-0592. Don't forget 10th ounce American Gold Eagles, $255. We're talking before the break, Taiwan Semiconductor, the largest chip maker in the world. They're building, if you are here in Arizona, you know along the I-17 and the 303 corridor, they're building this thing's, it's massive. It's like multiple city blocks big that Taiwan Semi's been building this chip factory. And let me just tell you about the earnings call. They warned about a deepening semiconductor downturn. Even as there is a boom in AI, it has failed to offset the mounting global economic headwinds. So they're saying, hey, the AI stuff, not enough to offset all the other stuff, saying that they've dropping 2023 revenue by 10%. They said that 3 months ago we were much more optimistic, but now we are not. Then they said that although we have very good AI end market demand, it is not enough to offset the weakness in all of our other product lines. Then they said they lowered their guidance for the full year. And also lowered guidance for 2024, saying that the Arizona chip plant will not be in production in 2024. Right now, they thought they would be making chips here in 2024. They say that is now going to be 2025. And Jason, they blamed it on untrained workers. They are bringing in Taiwanese workers to get the plant set up and running. They say that they don't have enough trained American workers to actually operate the plant, and that it's going to push back production until 2025.
This is not one of the companies that Nancy Pelosi's husband was invested in, is it? It's not one of those guys, is it? Because I know they were pretty excited about it.
Let me tell you right now, it could be. I don't know that. I don't know if Paul Pelosi, if this was one of his stock picks.
I mean, this might not go too well on his bottom line if they can't get this thing up and running, right? That's the first thing I thought of. It's we're supposed to make them here, and that was why Nancy Pelosi went over there to Taiwan, is to scare everybody from wanting to do business there and cause a lot of commotion. But I think they need a lot of these chips, Joe, for a lot of reasons. So sometimes when you read the news, sometimes I feel like you got to almost immediately go opposite. So to me, it means, man, they must need a lot of chips. That's the first thing I'm thinking. They need a lot of chips. I think they're hurting for them, Joe, and they're blowing it off as a non-emergency.
You're telling me we don't have enough trained Americans, really? I mean,
I believe that. I believe that. I believe that part of it.
I don't. I think it's a ploy to bring in cheaper foreign labor. I really do. You can't tell me you can't train the American worker to what? I don't know. Put the equipment in or operate the equipment. Really? I mean, that's what they're saying. I mean, I don't know how complicated it is.
Part of the training is paying enough money, though, and that's why I think that you don't have enough trained Americans. Part of the training is you got to pay them enough. So that might be why we have a lack of trained employees in this country for these industries, Joe. If you can't pay them enough, you're not going to train them. They're not going to take the training.
Maybe it is. Maybe we just can't build this stuff here. I guess it's too complicated for the American.
Physically, we can build it, but can we financially actually get it done? I think that's part of the problem, Joe.
Yeah, what
physically, I think anyone can learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's what I think.
Exactly.
Right? That was my point, right? Really? You can't teach them? But anyway, I digress. How about wow? This is just coming out of the home sale data. They're saying now that the paralysis in homes, they're saying that just 14 of every 1,000 homes has changed hands in the first 6 months of 2023. Now, I've never seen a data point like this, so I don't know, was that good? Is that bad? Obviously, it looks like it's bad. Apparently, this is how bad that this is. They're saying that it is the lowest turnaround date since they've been tracking the data, and say that they're talking about getting to a level here where a healthy market, it's 40 to 50 per 1,000. We're at 14 per 1,000. And I think that's a great way of an example of how few homes are really selling out there. And this is why the price is so high. It's supply and demand, right? There's not enough supply, right? Not enough demand. So therefore, ergo, right? Well, I guess there's enough demand for the supply that's out there. Jason, prices are going to stay up even with these high rates.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did watch a YouTube video. This YouTuber guy. He was showing some facts that that is the case. But very quickly, like in the next couple of months, it's almost going to flip, that the supply and demand is going to flip. And the supply will be overwhelmingly high before anyone knows it's happening. And suddenly housing could just crash. And I was looking at his graphs, his charts, and he has historical data to compare it to. So this could get scary pretty quick with housing, Joe.
Let's hope not, because that would be another shoe that we wouldn't want to fall. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday, 2 days in a row. Just luck when these things come up. We have yesterday we sold out of those 1995 Silver Eagles. Today we've got we had 2 cases of backdate Silver Eagles. It's really about price here. We want to get the most for the least. That's what we do best here. $675, just destroying all of the competition. The problem was we only had a couple of cases, so there's still some rolls left. Jump on these things. $675 at 800-951-0592. Continue to add here as again.
Joe, and you say luck on these. You say luck on these things, but you got to listen every day because you never know what's going to drop on the show. So we haven't been talking about, hey, you should listen every day, but you really should at least tune in every day to make sure what specials are dropping, because it is luck, but it's luck in each specific deal. We get these, we just don't know when we're going to get them, Joe.
Yeah, they just pop up. I mean, it's. I didn't know it. We do what we do here. We have a lot of contacts in the marketplace. And this was something where this deal came about from an unlikely source. This is why it's so much cheaper than everybody else out there. But that's why we've been doing this for 27 years. You end up getting these connections. So for the second day in a row, another great opportunity in the silver market. $675 for a roll of 20 Silver Eagles. 800-951-0592. We're getting ready. Obviously, we are anticipating a rate hike next Wednesday. And then I think we're probably going to the next inflation numbers will be the important numbers. If they stay low, then we'll probably pencil in another pause, right? At least another month without another hike. And the longer this goes, I think the hope is that the economy continues to slow. Obviously, they hope it slows without going into recession. I don't know that that's possible, but again, I think we're now more focused on the end of rates, dollar weakness. CPI data in Europe today was bad. It got hotter again, just so you know, as an indicator. And then, Jason, the bigger thing, how are we going to pay for the debt now? As we said, if you add up the interest payments of the last 12 months, $1 trillion. As this rolls on here, depending on how high rates go, very likely, unfortunately, very likely that interest payments on the debt could take out and be the number one expense line on the federal budget as early as 2024, Jason.
Not surprising. It could happen before that. You know, it just depends on how much money is needed to pay for all the government's stuff, right? So, but yeah, that number's going to grow, Joe. You covered that really well with the debt ceiling being lifted. They don't really have a ceiling at the moment, right? They have a timeline. So yeah, that number could get pretty big pretty fast.
Spend as much as you want. Jason and I, you think this is why these other nations are talking about launching their own currency and backing it by gold? We're going to talk about that, the BRICS, and the gold-backed currency coming up next.